It began with a light in the sky. Not a flash, not an explosion, just a slow, growing light above the clouds, brighter than the sun and moving with purpose. People around the world stopped what they were doing. Planes turned away, satellites went offline, and every radar screen showed the same thing. Something massive was entering Earth's orbit. Governments went silent. News anchors whispered into their mics, unsure if this was the end or the beginning. For hours, the object hovered above the planet, motionless, like it was waiting. Then, finally, the clouds parted, and the world saw it. It was not a ship like anything humans had ever built. It was black and smooth, shaped like the jaw of some great beast. It looked alive. Scars of glowing silver ran along its sides, pulsing with light like veins under skin. Every telescope pointed at it, every scientist guessed. But none could explain what it was made of. It looked ancient and angry. Then it sent a signal. No weapon, no threat, just one message, translated into every human language within minutes. We come in trust. We seek humanity. The words were calm, but the voice that spoke them was not human. It was deep, layered, and heavy, like thunder trapped inside stone. That was the first time humanity heard the voice of an apex predator. The apex were a legend long before that day. Stories whispered through alien transmissions had mentioned them. Traders in hidden colonies had spoken of the pack that ended worlds. Even the most advanced civilizations avoided saying their name out loud. The apex were the hunters of hunters, the rulers of predators. And yet, here they were, above Earth, not to conquer, but to ask for something. When the ship finally moved, it descended with slow grace, entering Earth's atmosphere without a sound. No heat signature, no flames, just silent movement through the clouds. It stopped over the Pacific Ocean, near an international base built for alien contact. No one expected the apex to use it, but they did. From the belly of the ship, a smaller craft lowered itself into the air. It was shaped like a claw, each curve shining in the sunlight. Military drones followed it carefully, but the smaller ship ignored them. It landed softly on a landing pad, steam rising from a metal. Then the hatch opened. What stepped out made soldiers drop their weapons. The being was huge, taller than two men. Its body wrapped in thick, dark armor that seemed to shift with every movement. Its eyes glowed faint blue, but they were calm, not wild. Behind it came another apex, carrying something, a small, sealed container. The leader looked around, studying the humans, and then spoke again. Its voice carried through the wind, deep and clear. I am Varkan of the Apex. I bring no war. I bring life. No one moved. Cameras from every nation recorded the scene. The entire world watched as the container was placed on the ground. The leader pressed its clawed hand to the surface. The shell opened and a soft light spilled out. Inside lay something small, something alive, a baby. It was tiny compared to the giant that stood over it, covered in faint silver fur, with sharp ears and bright eyes that blinked curiously at the humans around it. It made a quiet sound, a sound that was almost a laugh. The apex leader's voice softened. This is my child, our heir. We trust it to you, humanity. The soldiers looked at each other in confusion. Scientists whispered. The world froze. Trust? The apex, the most feared species in the galaxy, wanted to trust humans with their newborn? No one believed it. Some thought it was a test. Others feared it was a trick, a trap to study how humans would react. But Varkan stood still unshaken, as if the decision was final. We have seen your kind, he continued. You are small, yet you protect each other. You are weak, yet you endure. Our pack has forgotten what you still remember. Compassion. Hope. We give our heir to you, so that it may learn what we have lost. The word spread to the world like fire. Every government held secret meetings. Some wanted to refuse. Others wanted to accept to gain knowledge or favor from the apex. But before anyone could decide, the baby reached out, its tiny claws brushing the gloved hand of a human soldier. The soldier didn't pull away. He smiled, and in that small moment, every camera captured something powerful. Not fear, not hate, just connection. Varken nodded, as if satisfied. Then it is done. You will raise our young. Teach it your ways. Protect it as your own. With that, the apex leader turned back toward his ship. The second apex followed, but not before looking down at the child one last time. Its glowing eyes dimmed slightly, a gesture of sorrow or maybe trust. Then the ship rose back into clouds and vanished from sight. Earth was left in silence, a silence heavier than any war. The baby was taken into a secure facility, surrounded by guards, scientists, and endless questions. Reporters called it the Guardian Project. People filled the streets holding signs, some cheering, others warning. Was this peace, or the beginning of something else? That night, as the world argued, the newborn slept quietly under the glow of a human lamp. Its breathing was soft, calm. It seemed at peace. Far above the clouds, the apex ship drifted in the dark. Inside, Varken watched the glass as Earth grew smaller. If they fail, one of the soldiers said, the air will be lost. Varken's eyes glowed faintly. If they fail, he said, then so will we all. And with that, the ship turned toward the stars, leaving humanity with a gift and a test. The world argued for 7 long days. Some said the apex had come in peace. Others said it was a trap. The military wanted to study the creature. Scientists wanted to protect it. Politicians wanted to use it. But in the middle of all the noise, one quiet voice stood up. Her name was Dr. Leanne Moore, a young xenobiologist from the United Nations Research Division. She was known for one simple idea. Every species starts as a child. While generals debated weapons and presidents gave speeches, she wrote a single message that spread across every screen. If they trusted us with life, we should prove we deserve it. Her words changed everything. On the 8th day, the United Nations announced a decision. The child of the apex would be raised on Earth by humans under strict protection, but not as a prisoner. It would grow, learn, and live among people. The world would watch. The facility chosen was an isolated research base in the Pacific, surrounded by ocean and silence. Cameras lined the halls. Every move would be recorded. Nothing could go wrong. Dr. Leanne Moore was assigned as the child guardian, not just as a scientist, but as a mother figure. She didn't feel ready. Who would? The apex were creatures of nightmare and legend, and now she would raise one of their own. When she entered the containment chamber for the first time, she froze. The baby, named Karath in apex language, was sitting on the floor, wrapped in a soft gray blanket. It was bigger than a human infant, but its face was curious, bright, almost gentle. It blinked at her, tilting its head. 2 small fangs poked from its mouth. Its eyes glowed faintly blue. But instead of fear, she felt something else. Wonder. She knelt beside it and spoke softly. Hello there. My name is Leanne. The creature tilted its head again, then made a small sound, something between a growl and a laugh. It reached out one tiny clawed hand and touched her arm. Her heart skipped. It was warm. Days turned into weeks. Karath grew fast, too fast for human doctors to understand. Its body developed strength beyond anything they'd seen. It could lift objects twice its size. Its bones were denser than steel. But what amazed Leanne most was its mind. Karath watched everything. The sound of water, the way people smiled, the way they spoke. It began copying words after only a few days. Within a month, it could form sentences. Light, it said one morning, pointing at the sun. Yes, Lien replied with a smile. That's light. Warm, Karath added. She laughed. Yes, it's warm too. There was something almost human in the way it tried to understand everything. But not everyone was happy. Across the world, protests grew louder. People feared what would happen when the apex child became older, stronger. News stations called it the ticking bomb. Others demanded it be sent back into space. Still, Lien stayed calm. She believed Karath was not a weapon, but a bridge. Every night she wrote reports to the apex ship, which still orbited the far edge of the solar system. No reply ever came. Still, she continued, the child learns fast, she wrote. It responds to kindness. It shows empathy. It dreams. But one thing she never wrote in the reports was this. She was beginning to care. Deeply, Karath wasn't just a mission. It had become her purpose. One evening, as the sun set over the ocean, Karath stood by the window. Its claws tapped the glass softly. Why sky burn? It asked. Lien looked at the horizon. That's sunset, she said. The light changes color when the day ends. Karath turned its glowing eyes toward her. And sad? She smiled. No, it just means tomorrow will come soon. The creature thought for a long time, then nodded slowly. Tomorrow good, it said. For a moment, Lien forgot she was speaking to an alien. It felt like she was talking to a child who wanted to understand life, not destroy it. But not everyone on the base felt the same. Major Keller, the military overseer of the project, didn't trust it. It's learning too fast, he said one night. One day it'll realize we're weak. Then what? Lien didn't answer. She just looked through the observation window, watching Karath sleep. Maybe, she whispered, that's when it'll choose what kind of being it wants to be. Keller shook his head. You can't teach a wolf to be a lamb. Lien smiled faintly. Then maybe we should teach it to be something better. Weeks passed. Karath began drawing, not with claws, but with a stylus. Carefully, slowly, it drew circles, stars, and strange shapes. When Lien asked what they were, it said quietly, home. She realized then it remembered. Somewhere in its mind were images of the apex world. But what it drew next made her heart stop. It drew a human face. Hers. You, Karath said softly. Home, too. Lien blinked back tears. She didn't know what to say. Late that night, as she walked past the command room, alarms blared. A communication signal had been received from deep space. The apex. The message was short, written in their language, but instantly translated. Humanity has our child, but others in the pack do not agree. They come for what they call their own. Lien felt her blood run cold. She turned toward the sky, through the window. Far above, stars shimmered faintly. Somewhere out there, something was coming. She looked back at the sleeping Karath. Its breathing was calm. Its small hand rested on the pillow, claws barely showing. She touched the glass between them and whispered, Don't worry, little one. We'll protect you. But deep down she knew the real test for humanity was only beginning. And in the dark beyond Earth's sky, the apex pack had already started to move. 3 years passed. The world had changed, and so had Karath. The small creature that once hid under blankets now stood taller than most adults. Its body was strong, its muscles defined, but its eyes, those glowing blue eyes, were gentle. It had learned how to smile, how to read, and even how to joke, though its humor was unusual. In the mornings, it liked to help the scientists with simple tasks. It carried heavy tools like they were toys and fetched supplies from the storage rooms faster than any human could run. At night, it sat by the glass window of its quarters, watching the stars and humming songs that no human had taught it. Songs that came from memory, old apex lullabies. Dr. Lien Moore watched with both pride and fear. Karath was growing, yes, but she also knew that the stronger it became, the more dangerous others believed it was. The base had changed too. Security was tighter. New soldiers arrived every week. Drones followed Karath wherever it went. Cameras blinked red in every corner. Major Keller still didn't trust it. "This thing's no child," he said in meetings. "It's a weapon waiting to remember what it is." Lien would always reply softly, "Then we should make sure it remembers the good things first." But Keller didn't believe in good things. He believed in control. Karath could feel the tension. It wasn't stupid. It saw the way soldiers gripped their rifles tighter when it passed. It noticed the whispers when it laughed too loudly or when its claws scraped the floor by accident. One afternoon, while sitting with Lien in the garden enclosure, Karath asked quietly, "Why do they fear me?" Lien sighed, "Because they don't understand you yet." Karath tilted its head. "I try to understand them." "And that's why you're different," she said, smiling. "That's why they'll learn." Karath looked down at its clawed hands. "If I wanted, I could break this glass." Lien didn't flinch. "Yes, you could." Karath looked up again, puzzled. "Then why are you not afraid?" She smiled softly. "Because I don't think you ever will." Despite the fear around it, Karath loved learning about humanity. It watched documentaries about animals, fascinated by how lions hunted and how humans protected the weak. It listened to human music and often tried to sing along, its voice deep, strange, but oddly beautiful. Sometimes it asked simple questions that stopped everyone in the room. Why do humans cry when happy? Why do you grow flowers only to cut them? Why do you make war if peace feels better? Questions that sounded childish, but carried a wisdom few could answer. But far beyond Earth, in the cold dark of space, not everyone found Karath's new life charming. Among the Apex fleet, whispers spread to the pack. The old warriors spoke of shame. They said their air was being softened by the humans. Some called it corruption. Others called it betrayal. One name kept echoing: Vorath, brother to Varkan, the leader who had trusted humanity. Vorath believed his brother had been blinded by weakness. "The air learns lies," he growled. "It will forget the hunt. It will forget the pack. We must remind it who it truly is." And so the rebellion began. Back on Earth, the human team noticed strange readings. Unidentified signals near the moon. Small, silent, but growing in number. Keller reported them as unknown probes. Lien knew better. One night, Karath walked into her lab, holding a broken drone it had found near the shore. "It was watching," it said. Lien examined the wreck. Its alloy wasn't human. Her hands trembled. "You shouldn't have gone outside alone." Karath looked down, ashamed. "I wanted to protect." She looked at the creature before her, the alien child who now spoke like an adult, and realized something frightening. Karath wasn't a child anymore. It was something else. Something becoming. Still, Lien refused to treat it like a threat. She taught it more about Earth's history, about art, about forgiveness. Karath loved painting most. Its paintings were strange, half alien, half human. One showed two figures, a tall, shadowed creature holding a tiny hand of light. Beneath it, Karath had written in uneven letters, both strong, both fragile. When Keller saw it, he scoffed. "You think this means anything?" Lien looked at him calmly. "It means more than any weapon you've built." A week later, during a calm evening, Karath stood on the balcony, staring at the sea. The waves reflected its blue eyes like twin stars. Lien joined it quietly. You're thinking again, she said. Always, Karath replied. What about? About home. About who I am. She placed a hand on its arm. You are both, apex and human. You don't have to choose one. Karath was silent for a long time. Then it said softly, My people will not agree. Before Lien could answer, alarms screamed through the facility. Red lights flashed. Voices shouted over comms. Incoming vessels, unidentified, descending fast. Karath turned toward the sky. Through the window, it could see the stars moving. No, not stars. Ships. Dozens of them. Lien's voice trembled. They found us. Karath's eyes burned bright blue. They come for me. Soldiers ran through the halls. Drones armed themselves. The base went into lockdown. Keller shouted orders while Lien tried to calm Karath. But the creature stood still, unmoving, eyes fixed on the sky. Then, slowly, Karath spoke. Dr. Lien, if they attack, I will protect you. You can't fight them, she said quickly. They're your own kind. Karath looked at her, its voice low but steady. Then I will protect them from themselves. The words chilled her to the bone. Outside, the stars grew brighter. The first Apex ship broke through the clouds like a falling storm. Humanity's greatest fear had arrived, and inside that base a young creature, half predator, half human, prepared to decide what kind of being it truly was. The night sky burned red. At first, people thought it was a meteor storm, but meteors did not move in formation. They did not fly with precision or vanish behind clouds, only to appear again seconds later. The Apex fleet had arrived. In orbit, Earth's satellites went silent one by one. Communication lines dropped. Even the stars seemed to flicker out, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Inside the Pacific base, alarms screamed. Red lights flashed through every hallway. Soldiers shouted. Scientists ran, and in the middle of the chaos stood Karath, calm, motionless, staring at the ceiling as if it could hear something no one else could. Dr. Lien Moore rushed toward it. Karath, we have to move. Come on. Karath didn't blink. They are here, it said softly. My pack. Major Keller barked orders from the command deck. Activate the shield grid. Ready to rail defenses. Evacuate non-combat staff. Lien entered the control room, pulling Karath with her. They're not here for war, she said breathlessly. They're here for him. Keller turned sharply. Exactly, which is why we can't let them have him. Karath's gaze shifted to the large screen, showing orbit. Hundreds of dark shapes moved like predators in the night, circling the planet. They looked alive, like great hunting beasts made of metal and light. One massive ship broke from the formation and descended toward the base. Karath's claws flexed. That one, it said quietly. That is Vorath. Lien frowned. Who is that? My father's brother. He does not believe in peace. The ground trembled. The ocean boiled. The Apex warship hovered above the waves like a shadowed mountain. Lightning sparked around its hull as if the sky itself feared it. Through the glass, Lien saw smaller dropships forming in its wake, like claws reaching down. Keller cursed under his breath. They're breaching atmosphere. All hands battle stations. But no human weapon could match the Apex. They were faster, older, smarter. Earth's missiles barely scratched their shields. Still, Keller refused to back down. We'll show them humanity doesn't roll over. Lien turned to Karath. You have to talk to them. Stop this before it starts. Karath's glowing eyes dimmed. They will not listen to words. They only understand strength. Then show them a different kind of strength, she pleaded. The first Apex squad landed near the base's perimeter. They were huge, armored hunters with glowing visors and bladed limbs. Their voices roared through the storm. Return the air. Return Karath to the pack, or be erased. The human soldiers opened fire. Energy bolts lit the beach. The apex shields flared like fire, absorbing every hit. Within seconds, the defenders were pushed back. Keller yelled, "Fall inside, regroup." Inside the facility, Lien and Karath stood in the central chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling. The walls shook with each blast. Karath looked at her one last time. "Hide," it said. She grabbed its arm. "No, they'll kill you." It looked down at her hand, small, fragile, and smiled faintly. "You taught me peace. Now I will show them why it matters." Before she could stop it, Karath stepped through the shattered doors into the smoke and rain. The apex warriors stopped when they saw him, their weapons lowered slightly. The tallest among them, a massive creature with black armor etched in silver scars, stepped forward. "Karath," it said, voice rumbling like thunder, "you have lived too long among prey. Come home." Karath's voice was calm. "I am home." Vorrath's eyes narrowed. "Do not disgrace your blood. You are heir to the strongest pack in the galaxy. You were not meant to live among the weak." Karath shook its head slowly. "They are not weak. They are kind. And kindness is harder than war." The other apex hissed, offended. One raised its weapon. "Then you are lost." The blast came fast. A beam of blue energy shot straight toward Karath, but it never hit. In a blur of motion, Karath caught it with its claws, absorbing the shock, and flung it aside. The ground exploded behind him. The soldiers gasped. Karath's voice boomed through the storm. "No more killing." The apex charged. Karath met them head-on, not with rage, but control. Every strike was precise, every movement protective. He disarmed without killing, struck without cruelty. Humans watched in awe through the base cameras. The creature they had raised, the alien they feared, was defending them with its life. Lien's heart pounded. "He's holding back," she whispered. The fight lasted minutes that felt like hours. When the last warrior fell to one knee, Vorrath stepped forward, fury in his eyes. "You shame our blood," he snarled. "You fight like prey." Karath stood tall, chest heaving, eyes blazing. "No, I fight like a protector." Vorrath roared and swung his blade down, but before it struck, Karath caught it midair. Sparks exploded between their claws. "My father trusted humanity," Karath said. "Now I see why." With one final motion, he threw Vorrath's weapon aside. But instead of finishing him, Karath stepped back and turned away. "Go," he said softly. "Tell the pack I am alive, and that I have chosen my own path." Vorrath froze, shocked. Among apex, mercy was weakness. Yet standing before him was something stronger than fear, conviction. The warriors hesitated. No one moved. Rain poured down, sizzling on alien armor. Then, slowly, Vorrath raised his claw and gave a silent signal. The apex retreated. The ships above began to pull away, one by one. Lien ran out onto the platform as the last dropship rose into the clouds. Karath stood there, soaked in rain and smoke, his body scarred but unbroken. She reached him, breathless. "You stopped them." Karath looked up at the empty sky. "No," he said quietly. "They will return. But next time, they will not come to take me." She frowned. "Then why?" He turned his glowing eyes toward her, to test if humanity is worth trusting. Lightning flashed above, and for a moment, his reflection looked human. Strong, tired, and full of something the apex had long forgotten. Hope. The ocean was quiet again. Smoke drifted above the wreck base, glowing orange under the rising sun. The apex ships were gone, vanishing into the clouds as suddenly as they had appeared. The battle was over, but peace did not feel like peace. Dr. Lien Moore stood on the broken balcony, the wind whipping through her hair. Below her, Karath sat at the edge of the destroyed landing pad, staring at the horizon. His claws rested on his knees, his eyes dull and distant. He had stopped the invasion, yes. But in doing so, he had fought his own kind. Lien approached carefully. "You haven't moved in hours," she said softly. Karath didn't look at her. "They won't stop. Vorath saw weakness today. He'll return with more." She knelt beside him. "You saved lives, Karath. You did the right thing." He turned his glowing eyes toward her. "Right." His voice trembled slightly, a sound she had never heard before. "Among my people, mercy is not right. It's betrayal." Lien shook her head. "Among humans, mercy is what makes us stronger." Karath tilted his head, studying her like he always did when trying to understand something new. "Strength that does not kill," he said quietly. "Strange but beautiful." Inside the damaged base, soldiers and scientists worked side by side to repair what they could. The world watched through shaky broadcasts and grainy footage. The images spread everywhere, an alien standing beside humans, protecting them. The internet called him the gentle predator. Some praised him as a hero. Others called him a danger that should never have been trusted. Governments demanded answers. Why had the Apex attacked? What did they want? No one had an answer until Karath gave one. That night, he called Lien to the observatory. The sky was clear, full of stars. On the console, Karath projected a faint image, Apex script glowing in blue light. "What is that?" Lien asked. He pointed at the symbols. "My father's message, hidden inside my blood." Her eyes widened. "Inside your DNA?" Karath nodded. "A code. It unlocked when I reached maturity." Lien stared at the screen as lines of alien text translated slowly into English. The message was long, but its meaning was simple. Our kind is dying. Rage has eaten our future. Our pack breeds warriors, not caretakers. We have forgotten how to build, how to forgive, how to hope. I send my heir to the species that still remembers. If they succeed, the Apex will live again. If they fail, we deserve extinction. The room was silent. Lien felt a chill run through her body. "Your father didn't send you here to test us," she whispered. "He sent you here to save your people." Karath looked away, and they call it betrayal. The next morning, Lien brought the message to Major Keller. He read it twice, his jaw tight. "So, this was their plan all along," he muttered. "They want us to teach their kid how not to be a monster?" Lien glared at him. "He's not a monster." Keller looked up sharply. "He's still one of them. The only reason we're alive is because that thing chose to go against its own kind. What happens when it decides otherwise?" "He won't," Lien said firmly. Keller shook his head. "You don't know that, Doctor. You don't know what it's capable of." She leaned forward, her voice cold and steady. "Neither do you." Weeks passed. The base was rebuilt stronger than before. Karath helped with repairs, lifting metal beams like feathers, working beside humans with quiet determination. Children from nearby towns sent him drawings and letters. Some wrote, "Thank you for saving Earth." Karath would stare at those letters for hours, tracing the handwriting with his claws. "They thank me for peace," he said once. "My own kind would curse me for it." Lien smiled sadly. "That's because they don't understand peace yet. But they will because of you." Far away, in the cold darkness of Apex space, Vorath stood in his war chamber, watching recordings of the failed battle. His eyes glowed bright with fury. "He fought us," one warrior said, "but he did not kill. He defended them." Vorath snarled. "He defends the weak because they feed him lies. Humanity poisons our air." Another soldier hesitated. "But he spared us. He could destroy us all." Vorath slammed his clawed fist onto the table. "Mercy is not strength. It is disease. If my brother taught him this, then both must be purged." He turned toward the stars. "Prepare the fleet. This time, we burn Earth until nothing is left to teach." Back on Earth, Karath began to dream strange dreams, visions of burning worlds, of shadows chasing him through the void. He woke each night shaking, his claws cutting through steel. Lien found him one morning staring at his reflection in the glass. "They called to me," he said softly. "Who?" "My pack. They whisper in my sleep. They want me to remember what I was born to be." "And what is that?" Karath turned, his eyes glowing brighter than usual. "A killer." Lien stepped closer, her voice calm. "No, you were born to choose. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you alive." Karath looked down. "I want to believe that." Meanwhile, Earth's leaders gathered in secret. The Apex message had shaken them. If the alien empire truly faced extinction, then humanity stood at a crossroads. Some wanted to destroy the Apex before they could strike again. Others, like Lien, argued for peace. But fear spreads faster than truth. Military fleets began to prepare. War satellites were armed. The world was ready to defend itself, even if that meant destroying Karath's people entirely. When Karath learned of it, he said nothing. He simply stood by the ocean again, staring at the waves. "They are afraid," Lien said beside him. "So are the Apex," Karath replied quietly. "Fear is the one thing we both share." He turned to her. "If war comes, I must end it before it begins." Lien's heart sank. "How?" He looked at the sky. "By facing my pack." The next day, Karath sent a transmission into deep space. A single message in Apex tongue. "Meet me? No armies. No blood. I will speak as air." Lien begged him not to go. "They'll kill you." Karath smiled faintly. "Perhaps. But if I stay, everyone else will die." She tried to argue, but he placed a clawed hand gently on her shoulder. "You once told me mercy is strength. Let me show them that truth." Before dawn, he boarded a human-built shuttle, its engines humming softly. As it lifted into the clouds, Lien watched, her eyes filled with tears. For the first time, she realized she had not just raised an alien. She had raised hope. Days later, at the edge of the solar system, Karath's ship entered the empty space between stars. Waiting there were 3 Apex warships, the largest commanded by Vorath himself. Karath transmitted again, "I come alone." The ships surrounded him, weapons ready. Then, with a thunderous vibration, Karath's shuttle was pulled into the central hangar. When the doors opened, the air inside felt heavy with hostility. Hundreds of Apex warriors watched as Karath walked down the ramp. Unarmed, unarmored, yet unafraid. Vorath stepped forward. "You bring shame to your blood, nephew. Do you think words will save you?" Karath met his gaze. "Words once saved me. They can save us all." The crowd hissed. Vorath snarled. "You think kindness can rebuild a dying race?" Karath's voice was calm. "Kindness built every world that war destroyed." He looked around the room. "Our people are strong, yes, but strength without purpose is hollow. We fight because we fear weakness. Yet the humans, weak as they are, survive because they protect one another. That is the power we lost." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, one warrior dropped his weapon. Another followed. Vorath roared in anger. "Traitors!" Karath stepped closer. "No, they are remembering." He turned to the crowd. "My father sent me to learn. Now I will teach. We can still change. But if we cannot, then extinction will be mercy." Vorath raised his blade. "Then die with your weakness." The strike came fast, but Karath moved faster. He caught the blade, twisted it, and broke it in half. He didn't strike back. He simply stood there, breathing hard. "I will not kill you, uncle. I will not kill anyone." Vorath fell to his knees. Around them, silence spread, cold, deep, and final. And in that silence, something inside the Apex changed. For the first time in centuries, they saw that power could exist without cruelty. When Karath returned to Earth weeks later, he carried no scars, only a calm smile. Lien met him at the landing bay, tears in her eyes. "What happened out there?" Karath looked up at the sky. "The pack is thinking. For the first time, they're thinking. He looked at her and said softly, "The war is not over, but it no longer begins with hate. And for humanity, that was enough. Because somewhere in the stars, the apex, the most feared predators in the galaxy, were learning what it meant to be human. The world had not seen Karath for months. The star swallowed his ship the day he left to face his people. Governments called it a disappearance. The media called it abandonment. But Dr. Lien Moore refused to believe that. Every night, she returned to the same balcony, watching the sky, waiting for a sign. The waves below whispered softly against the metal walls of the rebuilt base. The war alarms had gone silent, but the world's heart still beat with fear. Was peace real, or was it only the pause between storms? Then one morning the sky tore open. A light streaked through the clouds, trailing silver flames that shimmered like falling stars. At first, soldiers aimed their weapons, shouting orders. But when the light slowed, hovering silently over the ocean, Lien knew. "It's him," she whispered. The ship descended with soft hum, unlike any Apex vessel before. It was smaller, smoother, half human, half alien in design. A bridge between two worlds. When the hatch opened, Karath stepped out. He looked different. Taller, stronger, but calm, his armor gone, replaced with simple woven cloth across his chest, marked with both human letters and apex runes. His claws were dull, not sharpened for war. And his eyes, they no longer glowed with the cold blue of his kind. They glowed warm, like twilight. "Karath," Lien breathed, barely able to speak. He smiled. "I came home." The base erupted in activity. Scientists, officers, even Keller, now grayer and slower, gathered around, speechless. Cameras rolled. The world watched as the alien they once feared walk calmly among humans, bowing slightly to each one he passed. Lien stepped closer. "You survived," she said, her voice shaking. "I thought—" "I know," Karath interrupted softly. "I thought the same." He turned his gaze to the horizon. But something happened out there. Something even I did not expect. That night, in the central hall, Karath told him everything. He spoke of standing before the Apex Council, of the silence after his final words, of the warriors who lowered their weapons and listened, and of his uncle Vorath, broken, angry, yet unable to deny what he'd seen. "They could not kill me," Karath said quietly. "Not because they feared me, but because they began to see themselves in me." Lien leaned forward. "What did you show them?" Karath looked at her, his voice low and steady. "That mercy is not surrender. That compassion does not mean weakness. That even a predator can protect instead of destroy." The room was silent. Keller crossed his arms, skeptical as always. "And you think they'll all just change overnight?" Karath shook his head. "No, change is slow, but the seed is planted. The pack listens now. Some will resist. Others will follow." He looked up at the sky through the glass dome. But they cannot forget what they saw. Not anymore. In the weeks that followed, messages began arriving from deep space. Strange frequencies, short transmissions, sometimes just one phrase repeated over and over in Apex tongue. "The air speaks truth. The weak are not prey. We are more." The galaxy noticed. Civilizations that had once feared the Apex now sent envoys to Earth, wanting to understand how humans had done what no empire could. Teach the monsters mercy. For the first time in history, humanity was not the weakest species in the room. They were the teachers. Still, Karath felt restless. He walked along the ocean at night, his eyes lost in the horizon. Lien joined him often, sensing his unease. "You're thinking again," she said one evening. "Always," he replied. "There is much to rebuild. My father's dream was not peace for one world. It was peace for all. The Apex must learn to live again, not just survive." She smiled faintly. "You sound like him." Karath turned to her. "You met him once, through his words. I met him through his silence." Lien frowned. "His silence?" "When he sent me here," Karath said, "he said nothing of how to return. He trusted that I would find the way myself. That is faith. That is what you humans have." Soon after, Karath announced his decision. He will return to the Apex homeworld, this time not as an exile or rebel, but as a bridge. "I will not go alone," he said to Lien. "You must come with me." Her heart froze. "Me? Karath, I'm human. I can't survive among your kind." "You taught me to survive among yours," he said simply. "Now it is time for you to teach them among mine." The journey to the Apex world took days through folded space. Lien spent most of the time staring out the viewport, watching the stars twist and stretch into ribbons of light. Karath often sat silently meditating, his breathing slow and rhythmic. On the third day, Lien asked, "Do you think they'll accept me?" Karath didn't answer right away. Then finally he said, "They will not accept you because you are human. They will accept you because you are good." When they arrived, Lien's breath caught. The Apex homeworld, Vorin, was unlike anything she'd imagined. A vast planet of black mountains and glowing rivers, its skies painted with streaks of red and gold. Giant beasts roamed the plains, and towers of living metal rose from the ground like bones of ancient gods. The landing field was surrounded by thousands of Apex warriors. Their armor shimmered, their claws gleamed, but none moved. They simply watched as Karath and the small human stepped out. Karath raised his hand. "Brothers, sisters, I have returned." A deep voice echoed across the field. The pack listens. They were led to the Great Hall, a massive structure carved from stone and light. The Apex Council waited inside, ancient beings with eyes like burning stars. At the center sat Vorath, scarred but alive. When he saw Karath, he stood slowly. "You live..." Karath nodded. "Because you let me..." Vorath's voice was quieter than before. "I let you because your words would not leave my thoughts." He turned to Lien. "And this fragile one?" Lien swallowed, her voice trembling but steady. "I am Dr. Lien Morverth. I raise your heir. And I am not here to command. I am here to understand." A murmur spread through the hall. No human had ever spoken before the Apex Council. Vorath's eyes narrowed. "You think your kind can teach us?" Lien met his gaze. "I think we can remind you." Karath stepped beside her. "The humans gave me something we lost long ago. A choice. They did not chain me or command me. They believed I could become better. That belief is strength." He looked around the hall, his voice rising. "We are the hunters of the stars, yes, but we cannot hunt forever. We must build. We must heal. The universe does not fear us anymore. It pities us." A silence fell over the council. Then, from the back of the hall, an elder Apex spoke softly. "And what would you have us do, heir?" Karath bowed his head. Remember who we were before the rage, before the hunger. Let our power protect life, not end it." For a long time, no one moved. Then Vorath, once the loudest voice of violence, took a deep breath and turned toward Lien. "You taught him mercy," he said. "Perhaps you can teach us too." He kneeled. One by one, the other council members followed. Thousands of warriors outside lowered their weapons, bowing toward the human, and the heir who stood together at the center of the hall. Lien felt tears fill her eyes. Karath reached out and gently placed his clawed hand on her shoulder. "We are not alone anymore," he said softly. In the weeks that followed, the Apex began rebuilding, not just their cities, but their hearts. Human teachers arrived, scientists came, and trade routes opened. The Apex shared their technology. Humanity shared their art, their music, their stories. And among it all, Karath and Lien walked side by side to the alien streets, watching a civilization reborn. One evening, as the twin sun set over the Black Hills, Lien said quietly, "Your father would be proud." Karath looked toward the glowing horizon. "So would yours." She smiled. "Maybe one day, there won't be yours or mine. Just us." Karath nodded. "That is the world I fight for." He looked up at the stars, countless, endless, waiting. "And it begins," he whispered, "with trust."